Was a cyber attack the reason why all domestic flights in the United States was canceled today? The White House has said that there's no evidence that there was a cyber attack, but check this out.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
Welcome back to Inside Four Walls. I'm yours, James Madison. My God, I go away for 3 days and the world goes on fire. Well, even more so than before. With that being said, let's start off with the most interesting story. That's not true, but it's an interesting one nonetheless. FAA system fully restored following outage. Nationwide ground stop lifted. On Wednesday, every single plane across the U.S. was forced to land as everyone was rushing to say, there has been a massive cyber attack. A cyber attack! Even high-ranking government officials were coming out and saying, it looked like there could be a cyber attack. Maybe it was the Russians. It was a lot of fear-mongering that came out, and honestly, I may have been sucked into it too a little bit. I would have been hesitant with the Russian thing, I always am, because from Hillary Clinton to now, from 2015 to now, everything is Mo-Russian, and I just don't believe it anymore. But let's hop into this, shall we? Over here, the front page of Ground News, FAA system fully restored following outage. Where are my glasses? Here are my glasses. Flights across the United States resumed Wednesday morning, several hours after the Federal Aviation Administration suffered a computer outage that forced a halt to all departures nationwide while it scrambled to resolve the issue. Now we scroll down here. This is the high factuality, most recent article. Hop over here. Boop, boop. Oh, actually I was mistaken. It looks like NBC is the most recent article, so we will actually hop over there. As long as it's not behind a paywall. No? Nice. Alright, then we'll read this article, and then we'll hop over to an article of personal preference from the Post-Millennial, and we'll go from there. Corrupted file to blame for FAA aviation stoppage that delayed thousands of flights. The system was restored after it halted all departures across the country. See what the video here is all about.
With the national air ground stop now lifted, flights are gradually returning to normal after the FAA stopped all domestic commercial flights from taking off after a central flight system went down this morning.
That's right. The outage prevented pilots from receiving emergency alerts and learning of potential hazards. Now, thousands of domestic flights are slowly resuming after long delays.
We have NBC News correspondent Tom Costello joining us now to help us break this all down. So, Tom, first, do we have any sense of what caused this outage, and when do we think things will return to normal?
So the first question we had this morning was this a hack? Somehow did the system suffer a cyber attack? Law enforcement sources say so far the FBI sees no sign of that. So we don't know why this computer system, this is called the NOTAM system, the Notice to Air Mission System. It provides pilots with information about the airports they're going to. Is there a runway closed? Is there construction equipment somewhere near the airport they need to know about? What about military airspace? That NOTAM computer went down, we think in the 5 a.m. East Coast time hour. And then as it became evident that this was not working and planes could not take off, essentially the FAA hit the pause button on all commercial departures starting at 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. So then they lifted it. The system is back up and running. But they now need to do a full forensics analysis to determine why this computer went down, because the ripple effect will be significant throughout the day.
Tom, I think people are probably waking up to this news this morning thinking something else that means that my trip isn't going to happen the way it was planned, whether it's weather, whether it's airline staffing, and now this, a full ground stop. How bad is this for airlines and airports, especially after all that mess we just experienced during the holidays?
Well, it's not great, but listen, let's be clear. This is the slowest travel time of the year because we're done with the holidays and we haven't hit spring break. January is usually pretty slow. We have pretty good weather today, except out in California, snow coming into Denver. But for the most part, weather is not a problem. So this is not ideal deal under any circumstances, but it probably was the best time of the year for this to happen. And now they got to figure out what the problem is. Let's be clear. This is not the airline's fault, right? So if you as a passenger have had your flight delayed or canceled, some airlines are now waiving change fees, but they're not going to pay you to put you up in a hotel, and they're not going to reimburse you for your food because it's not their fault. It's the FAA's fault. It's an act of God. But the numbers are pretty significant. Right now, we're looking at 6,700 delays, cancellations right now, 1,000 in the United States. Let's take a look at the misery map really quickly. And as you would expect, it starts on the East Coast and rolls west because the East Coast is where it started. New York City, D.C., Miami, Charlotte, Atlanta, Chicago, and then rolling across to Denver and to L.A. and to San Francisco. But they've got their own problems out there with the weather. And then the look at Flight Radar 24, the look at all flights in the skies right now, and they are starting to pick up. But you cannot simply, release the floodgates and let every single plane go at once. This is going to take a while to bleed into the system all of these planes and all these flights that were sitting on the ramp waiting for the go-ahead.
And just for some context, Hamid said earlier, this isn't something that's happened since 9/11, where you see a full ground stop like this, so it's very rare.
Yeah, and huge impact. All right, NBC News correspondent Tom Costello, thank you so much.
All right, moving on. Let me make sure I can turn this off. I'll just silence it and move forward. Okay, article is by Jay Blackman, Chantel De Silva, Ken Dillion, and Corky Samazco. What a quirky name. All right. Flights across the U.S. resumed Wednesday morning, several hours after the Federal Aviation Administration suffered a computer outage that forced it to halt all departures nationwide while it scrambled to resolve the issue. The FAA said the crippling delays that affected thousands of flights appeared to have been caused by a problem in the Notice to Air Missions System, or NOTAM, N-O-T-A-M, an acronym, which sends pilots virtual information they need to fly. A corrupted file that affected both the primary and the backup systems, a senior government official said Wednesday evening, adding that the officials continue to investigate. So one little hiccup in the system brought everything to a grinding halt. That's something to keep in mind while, people are going up shooting out power grids and blowing up power grids. Interesting. Quote, the FAA is continuing a thorough review to determine the root cause of the Notice to Air Missions system outage. The agency said in a statement, quote, our preliminary work has traced the outage to a damaged database file. At this time, there is no evidence of a cyber attack. End quote. Transportation Security Pete Buttigieg said earlier in the day that officials had not ruled out the possibility of a cyber attack, but that so far, quote, there is no direct indication of any kind of external or nefarious activity. Pardon the cough. I'm still getting all this gunk out of my lungs from being sick. Quote, one of the questions we need to look at right now, and one of the things I'm asking from the FAA is what's the state of the art in, let me restart that one. I'm asking from the FAA is what's the state of the art in this form of message traffic. That's just kind of a clunky sentence. Buttigieg told NBC News, Andrea Mitchell, quote, and again, how is it possible for there to be this level of disruption? That's actually not a bad question, that last part. Because again, one small, little corrupted node, little corrupted piece of the system brought everything to a grinding halt. And this is going to have millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of implications. Because that's a lot of airlines, there's a lot of tickets being reimbursed, there's a lot of people being delayed. This is a much bigger deal than it might seem on the surface. President Joe Biden ordered an investigation after he was briefed by Buttigieg. Senator Maria Cantwell, a Democrat from Washington, who heads the Commerce Committee, which oversees the FAA, said it, too, will look into the matter. Quote, the number one priority is safety, Cantel said in a statement, quote, "As the committee prepares for FAA reauthorization legislation, we will be looking into what caused this outage and how redundancy plays a role in preventing future outages. The public needs a resilient air transportation system." Got a little video here.
All the news representation here, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I had no idea that there was an FAA ground stop. So, we'll see if we actually get to leave.
Is there any more interviews with people?
You don't never see this many delays, ever. Unless it's weather inclement or something like that. But it ain't bad weather, so it shouldn't be this many delays.
My condolences,
No
Raiders
information
fans.
from the airline, no emails, no text messages, nothing. What I'm hoping is that we're not a part of the people that's grounded. Fingers crossed.
We did try calling the airline this morning, and we weren't able to get through. Probably because everybody was trying to call.
I kind of worry about this. I would rather be safe and sound than worry about being delayed by a couple hours.
Things happen. Planes get delayed. That's just the way life is, so you get used to it.
It's crazy. A lot of people out there that are struggling, so hopefully they can figure it out.
We've been planning this trip for 2 months, 3 months, so, and we have Airbnbs booked, rental cars booked, and that's going to be a nightmare trying to get a refund from everything.
All right, moving on. Meanwhile, the top Republican on the committee, Ted Cruz of Texas, said the FAA's, quote, "The FAA's inability to keep an important safety system up and running is completely unacceptable and just the latest example of dysfunction within the Department of Transportation." He's not wrong. The man that ate my son is not wrong. The delays came just 2 weeks after Southwest Airlines, my favorite airlines actually, mainly only because if I'm going to, I hate flying, right? I only fly for one destination. It's to see my family in Mississippi. That's it. I will fly down the Mississippi, but other than that, I don't fly anywhere. So Northwest, that's my shit right there. Boom, boom. Or Southwest, that's my shit. Fly from Detroit to Tennessee, get a Hertz, drive to Mississippi. Smooth. The delays came just 2 weeks after Southwest Airlines caused travel chaos by canceling more than 2,500 of its flights during the Christmas seasons. Pardon me. Buttigieg acknowledged the frustrations of travelers in his interview with Mitchell, but said safety always comes first. Quote, "Well, I assume you're working to get the monkeypox vaccines developed rapidly." It's a joke, kind of. Quote, "This is incredible. This is an incredibly complex system," Buttigieg said, quote, "So glitches or complications happen all the time. All the time. But we can't allow them to ever lead to this level of disruption, and we won't ever allow them to lead to a safety problem." All right. I'm just saying, man, if it's such a complicated system and glitches like this happen all the time, why is it the first time we're hearing of it? And again, I completely agree. Ted Cruz has said it. Buttigieg, the best of Buttigieg's, has said it too. This is a very embarrassing fucking mock failure right here. There's no reason that everything should be grounded because of one glitch in the system. That is ridiculous, and at a time like this, it shows a vulnerability that we just cannot afford to have our enemies be seen like this. The FAA lifted the ground stop around 8:50 a.m. The normal air traffic operations began resuming gradually, but by then, airports across the country were already crowded with frustrated travelers and a backlog of flights. Yeah, not the way you want to start your morning. As of noon, more than 7,300 flights within to and out of the U.S. had been delayed, according to the online flight tracker, FlightAware. More than 1,100 flights were listed as just being outright canceled. Passengers stuck at O'Hare International Airport. Oh, that one sucks. My least favorite airport is the Denver International Airport. I fucking hate that. I hate that fucking statue. If you guys have not seen the Denver Airport statue, oh my fucking god, I hate that goddamn thing. Why does it exist? It does not need to exist. You might go tear down statues, and you can start with that fucking thing. Ugh. Creepy. Passengers stuck at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago greeted the latest air travel disruption with a collective shrug. I mean, you're in Chicago. It's not the worst thing that's going to happen to you. Quote, "It's kind of what it is. It kind of is what it is." Teresa Zeikis said, quote, "I would rather be safe and sound than worry about being delayed by a couple of hours." So that's who we just talked to. Just listen to. Traveler Martin Johnson echoed Zeikis. Quote, "Planes get delayed," Johansson said, as he is waiting with his wife Barbara. Quote, "That's just the way life is, so you get used to it. Any person whose flight was canceled is entitled to a full refund, Transportation Department guidelines say. Major domestic carriers like American Airlines, United Airlines, and Delta said they would waive the fees of travelers who want to rebook flights. The first sign that it was likely to be a massive incident came around 7:20 a.m. when the FAA sent out a tweet ordering the airlines to pause all domestic departures until 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, quote, to allow the agency to validate the integrity of flights and safety information as it worked to restore NOTAM system, or NOTAM. All flights already in the sky were safe to land, the FAA said, quote, pilots check the NOTAM system before they fly. The agency said, quote, a notice to air mission alert pilots about the closed runways, equipment outages, and other potential hazards along with a flight route or at a location that could affect the flight. As the drama unfolded, cybersecurity experts said the likeliest cause was a bad software update. Quote, today's FAA catastrophic system failure is a clear sign that America's transportation network desperately needs significant upgrades. That's what John McAfee was saying in his 2016 presidential debates. The U.S. Travel Association president and CEO, Jeff Freeman, said in a statement, quote, Americans deserve an end-to-end travel experience that is seamless and secure. And our nation's economy depends on the best in-class air travel system. Quote, we call on federal policymakers to modernize our vital air travel infrastructure to ensure our systems are able to meet demand safely and efficiently, he said. Buttigieg tweeted that he had, quote, been in touch with FAA this morning about the outage affecting a key system for providing the system information to pilots. United Airlines said earlier that it had temporarily delayed all domestic flights, while Southwest Airlines said it was quote, closely monitoring the situation, but warned customers to brace themselves for travel troubles. Soon, the major airports were doing the same. Quote, an FAA system outage is causing ground stops at AUS and other airports across the country. Austin Bergstrom International Airport in Texas tweeted, quote, arriving and departing passengers can expect delays this morning and through the day. It said, adding, quote, please stay in contact with your airlines and check your flight status before heading to AUS. A number of social media users said they had been affected. Heather Allen, 32, was meant to fly from New York to Seattle, from one dump to another, with her fiancé to visit her family for a delayed holiday visit. She was watching a movie on her plane, still on the tarmac at John F. Kennedy International Airport, when she and other passengers were told to get off their Delta Airlines flight. she had been on the plane for about an hour before she had been told to get off the plane, and that she had learned of the outage by reading the news on Twitter. Quote, trying to be patient but feeling frustrated. Wah, Allen said. She said the situation at the airports was, quote, not currently chaotic, but could be if it delays any longer. Oh yeah, I'm sure you're going to throw your Starbucks cup at the wall in frustration. The flight delays in the U.S. had a ripple effect in some airports abroad. The international airport operator Aéroports de Paris, or Airports of Paris, you could have just said that, said all flights by the U.S. carriers have been delayed. It said non-U.S. airlines were flying out as normal without interruption. Imagine you're just in some Paris airport looking at the TV, watching your flights, and then you see at once all of the airlines in the U.S. just shut down. You'd be like, oh God, what happened? Is New York okay? How's Hawaii doing? It would just be an alarm. Have the Japanese gotten revenge? The flight delay, ripple effect, Air France said all of its U.S.-bound flights were not affected by the FAA computer outage and were operating as planned. It said it continues to monitor the situation. A spokesperson for Gatwick Airport in London said, quote, as far as we are aware, we are still operating to and from the U.S. at the moment. Lol. And now let's hop on to the article of personal preference over here at the Post Millennial. Biden admin claims FAA system failure shows no evidence of cyber attack. While travelers and airlines scrambled to get away, to get where they needed to be, and to figure out what was causing the system failure, the Biden administration provided no concrete answers. By Olivia Rodow? That's what's going on here.
I didn't realize that Stephen K. Bannon. Well, Steve, first off, I got to say, listening to that cold opening, Morning Mika, I didn't realize that Stephen K. Bannon was actually responsible for the last century of coups in South America. Bannon, that was really you arming the Contras against.
That has nothing to do with what we're listening to, so moving on. The Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA's computer system, faced massive outages Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, forcing thousands of U.S. flights to be delayed or canceled. The Biden administration reported that it wasn't a cyber attack, but that they also have no idea what's going on. Comforting. The system called the Notice to Air Missions, or NOTAM, which pilots are required to consult before taking off, lists potential adverse impacts on flights. By 11 a.m. Wednesday, 1,000 flights were canceled and more than 6,000 were delayed, according to the flight tracking website FlightAware. I have a little clip here from CNN.
Just spoke directly with the CEO of Southwest Airlines. Did you get any explanation at all for this horrendous meltdown of epic proportions?
Epic.
Well, meltdown is the right word. This is an unacceptable situation. You look at the number of passengers who are stranded. You look at how hard it is even to get somebody on the phone to address it. From what I can tell, Southwest is unable to locate even where their own crews are, let alone their own passengers, let alone baggage. So I conveyed to the CEO our expectation that they are going to go above and beyond to take care of passengers and to address this. They indicated a number of issues that they're having with systems, legacy systems for managing their schedule and where their crews are. But the bottom line is the aviation system has been on the road to recovery since the worst days of the storm going into Friday of last week. As of today, as I'm looking at the different airlines, most of them are in the low single digits in terms of cancellation rates, averaging about 5% for all of the other airlines. For Southwest right now, we appear to be north of 70%. So their system really has completely melted down. And I've made clear that our department will be holding them accountable for their responsibilities to customers, both to get them through this situation and to make sure that this can't happen again.
Yeah, you got to learn the lesson.
All right, moving on. While travelers and airlines scrambled to get where they needed to be and to figure out what was causing the system failure, the Biden administration provided no concrete answers. Quote, I just spoke to Buttigieg. I know how it's actually pronounced. They don't know what the cause is, but I was on the phone with him for about 10 minutes, President Joe Biden said this morning to reporters outside of the White House. Quote, I told them to report directly to me, man. When they find out, man. Air traffic can still land safely, man. Just not take off right now, man. We don't know what the cause of it is, man. President Joe Biden right here from the tweet, from the Hill.
I just spoke with Buttigieg. They don't know what the cause is, but I was on the phone about 10 minutes. I told them to report directly to me when they find out. Aircraft can still land safely, just not take off right now. We don't know what the cause of it is. They expected it to in a couple hours they'll have a good sense of the cause, and we'll respond at that time. We don't know. Okay, we'll find out.
All right, not a bad public speaking from Biden. Moving on, White House Press Secretary Kathleen Jean-Pierre said that there is no evidence of a cyber attack at this point, but that a full investigation will be conducted. We have Pierre's Twitter right here. The president has been briefed by the Secretary of Transportation this morning on the FAA system outage. There is no evidence of a cyber attack at this point, but the president directed DOD, or the Department of Transportation, to conduct a full investigation into the causes of the FAA, provide regular updates. Go down, Secretary Pete Buttigieg. FAA has determined that the safety... Oh, that was gross, pardon me. The FAA has determined that the safety system affected by the overnight outage is fully restored, and the nationwide ground stop will lift effective immediately. I have directed our an after action process to determine root causes and recommend next steps. Quote, you are the root cause, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire replied, based. Quote, the after action process should start with your regulations, or with your resignation, my apologies. Grassroots group Tea Party Patriots chimed in. Commentator Charles R. Downs pointed out the similarities between the national flight cancellations happening under Buttigieg, who was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, to when pizza chain Domino's stepped in to pay for pothole repairs in the town's public roads, and everybody threw a fit at them about it. Charles R. Downs, when Pete Buttigieg was mayor of South Bend, Domino's had to fill in South Bend's potholes due to Mayor Pete's incompetence. How was Pete Buttigieg qualified to be transportation secretary in the first place after today's FAA computer failure? Joe Biden has some explaining to do, and now you know why I like the post-millennial so much.
To help in South Bend, the pizza chain will give the city $5,000 as part of its Paving for Pizza grant series. Domino's said it picked South Bend for a grant after hearing a lot of complaints about local roads.
Actually, quite a bit of drivers that talk about it a lot, and that's the cool thing about this program, is hopefully it will make the roads better for the residents and our drivers. You know, that's kind of the key to what Domino's is trying to do.
After the city of South Bend gets the check, it's up to the city officials to pick which streets needs repaved and when. And as we approach pothole season, does dodging all those potholes feel a lot like playing Frogger to you? Well, we'd like to hear about the worst ones you've encountered here in Michiana. You can share your experience.
You know, that's a really funny thing about all of it, too. People are like, oh, you're an anarcho-capitalist? Oh, you're libertarian? You must hate roads. Have you driven on them? Don't you fucking hate them, too? Moving on. Apparently to the end of the episode. So, yeah, everything has been resumed as to normal. No signs of a cyber attack. And the Department of Transportation continues to show his ineptitude once again. That being said, I have a lot of episodes to get into. Come back for the next episode where I'll be talking about the new House of Representatives has voted to completely dismantle the IRS. We'll go into more about it next time. Until then, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.